the COVID-19 third wave upon us, are the churches doing anything differently to ensure the safety of congregants? Later this evening, President Cyril Ramaphosa will announce measures the government is taking to mitigate the impact. Previously, that included restrictions on religious gatherings. Let's speak now to Bishop Malusi Mpumane, who is from the South African Council of Churches. Bishop, thank you for joining me this afternoon. What are you intending, or what are you expecting the President to say, and how do you think the Church will need to respond if it is back to a very severe sort of lockdown?
Thank you for having me. It is very hard to anticipate what the President is going to say, but what we are aware of is that we are having frightfully increasing numbers of infections. We know that the faster the doubling of the numbers, the greater the chances of increased hospitalizations and possibility of increased fatalities. We're aware of that, and for that reason, the South African Council of Churches prepared working proposals for the heads of churches that are meeting on Tuesday. Actually, we didn't even know the President was going to convene this weekend. But the items that were authorized for us to share with the church leaders this week begin with a request for us to redouble our efforts, not only in our own. I think we should actually start off by saying we congratulate the churches because they have done a great job of containing the spread in their own congregations. We haven't had super spreads in churches, even at Easter, which was feared so much. For this, we thank the churches for their consciousness of this. Now, what we have done now is to ask them to go beyond their own congregations in the communities where they worship and they live, that they should please spread the gospel of mask, sanitization, distancing and ventilation, which we know is more difficult in the winter to ventilate. The second thing we're sending out to the churches is, especially in the hotspot provinces of the Free State, Gauteng, Northern Cape and Northwest, to consider voluntarily reducing the numbers of worshippers, not stay with the number of 250 which has been granted. One example is that the Anglican Church, Archbishop Thabo Makgoba, has already taken the lead in encouraging all Anglican congregations to reduce the numbers just to be on the safe side, precisely because it's difficult to keep windows open during the winter. The third thing we're asking is, that now, this is not about worship. It's asking the congregations to ask the families that are participating in worship, your members, wherever they are, to please postpone family functions and normal celebrations of birthdays to be recognized at least for 3 months until September, in order to deny the virus hosting opportunities during the winter when ventilation is a challenge on account of the cold. We are also saying, please, families, postpone slaughtering of animals for family events, which is a source of COVID danger, as it goes with the gatherings even beyond the family. And that communication from our member churches is important on this matter. That's what we're saying. And finally, we're saying to churches that they must consider delaying the second aspect about physical conferences, assemblies and synods, as well as major festivities such as ordination events until August. And we think that all of this must go together with the vaccination drive. We know that the SACC accounts for between 23 and 25 million Christians in South Africa. And that's about 48-50% of all Christians. And that's about 2 million of the elderly are in our congregations. We're saying, please, let's do everything we can to vaccinate and register all the elderly in our congregations and the friends that they drink tea with, and make sure that by the end of July, they're all vaccinated. And that's what we have this big drive now, which we call #VaxUgogo, VaxUmkhulu, which is calling for volunteers in all congregations to vaccinate, make sure that every member of the congregation over 60 is vaccinated, and then go out to the friends and the neighbors that they drink tea with. Those are the things that we're trying to put into place. and we'll be driving this a whole lot more in the coming week.
Can I say congratulations, Bishop, because it sounds like it's a really good plan that you seem to have. Let me ask, though, is there a point at which you think there may be the necessity again for the shutdown of religious services?
I don't know, not think so, actually. I mean, it's a fact. There is no evidence that religious worship has any impact on the numbers. It's not, there are no spreads happening there. What people do not recognize is that unlike other gatherings, religious gatherings have got a psychosomatic value. They deal with a huge aspect of the pressure of COVID, which includes the depression. And, the depression that happens not only because of the space that's constrained, but also because of the loss of incomes, the loss of livelihoods, and everything that goes with that. And worship, and of course the deaths of people. People are having people die, and you can't even worship together. It is a whole lot. It's not just a gathering. I think that we need to recognize that church is not just it's not like a football club that gather. No, it is the whole ministry. And this is part of what we think we need during this time. And there is no evidence. We've been put now at 250. And even then, people said Easter is going to bring a super spread. It didn't happen. Look at the numbers in April. It didn't happen. Not in our churches. And so we have got no power to stop the government from doing that. But I think that it comes out of failure to appreciate what goes into a worship experience for the members. And, talking about 80% of South Africans are Christian, according to the statistics. Those people do need spiritual ministrations. And we're trying to do that with every limitation. Of course, we have got our own guidelines at the SSC that say, watch out. We have said to people, make sure that your numbers are, which is why we're saying what we're saying about certain provinces and what we're saying about what Archbishop Makoba is saying. Leave this management of the numbers to the churches, because they have been doing this now for over a year. They know what needs to happen. They are the only people that meet regularly every week. They have to have a regime, and we're doing this.
Good to hear your plans, Bishop Mpumalwana from the South African Council of Churches. Looks like they are very organized and ready for the third wave.